Previously on Bleach, this is Zanko no Tachi East. Okay, I might be a little screwed here. This is Zanko no Tachi West. Okay, I am really screwed now. This is Zanko no Tachi South. There are actual screws that are less screwed than I am right now. I don't even want to know what Zanko no Tachi North is. Yeah, you might be a little disappointed by that, actually. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here to review Bleach chapter number 509 entitled Tenshi Kaijin. Okay, so the chapter starts off with the part of the house that has the studio and it is getting the roof fixed. Yeah, that's it. Hey, not everything in life has a funny punchline. Sometimes stuff just happens. Need a better backup studio. This is freaking ridiculous. Okay, so chapter starts off with Yhwach. Yeah, we'll be getting to that at the end of the chapter, but it starts off with Yhwach witnessing the epic dam display of Yamamoto summoning his army of charred skeletons from hell itself. It is confirmed in last chapter, it was kind of mentioned in like the chant he was doing when he summoned them, but he does state that whenever the flames of my blade reach their ashes, they become reanimated, which doesn't make much sense because some of the people that we see that he revived aren't actually on the battlefield, so I'm not really sure exactly what the logistics are of how he just summoned them. I think it's easier just to think like he spawned them out of nowhere, like out of like the ground itself, because it's not like not all these guys were buried in this one spot, obviously, but you know, it doesn't really matter how much exactly how they got summoned. What matters is Yama has a freaking army now. He states that they're pretty much an extension of himself, like an arm or a leg, and they'll attack the enemy without remorse until they become dust. So not only does Yama have an army of over 1 trillion skeletons at his disposal, but they are also mindless and they will fight until their very last breath. Well, not really breath because they're skeletons, but you get where I'm going with this. They're pretty much an unstoppable force. And another thing is, he does state once again that it's over, like he does state the name, like over 10 trillion, but we don't really know yet exactly how many there are. There's definitely not 10 trillion in this chapter. It's just something I have to mention. Like, it's a number that goes beyond understanding. It's over, like the human population right now is 7 billion. That's not even 10% of 1 trillion. So you see where we're going with this. Like, this number is just, it's huge beyond comprehension. But, you know, regardless if he did summon these or not, it doesn't really mean much at the end of the chapter, but we'll be getting to that. Okay, so after Juha's done pissing his pants in fear, he states that it's funny that a boss of the Shinigami is actually summoning the dead to fight for him, which is not really funny in that, I guess he was trying to go with like, oh, it's funny because you're basically like Grim Reapers and you're using the dead to fight for you. That's actually a that's actually a fighting ability that I would assume the Grim Reaper has. If you ever run into the Grim Reaper one night and he summons a zombie out of the ground to fight for him, I'd be like, yeah, that does make a lot of sense actually. Then I, get my brain eaten, but before I die, at least I have closure. Okay, so he gives the typical villain spiel about, oh, you're a disgrace, and you think this is enough to stop me, which is funny because he said that, like, every single time Yamamoto activates a new ability. Oh, you think Zanko no Tachi East is enough for me, huh? Oh, you think the West ability is enough to stop me, huh? Well, here's this Palace of Light that you can never get past. Oh, you got past it? Okay, well, oh, you're summoning an army of skeletons? Okay, well, that's not enough. He's like, Dude, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be a little afraid by the head captain that just summoned an army of the damned to fight you. It's okay to have a little trickle of sweat now and then, alright? You don't have to be acting like you have the biggest dick in the room. Just saying. He states to look close to the skeletons whose arms and heads he just broke. Juha recognizes one of the skeletons as a guy named Zaidritz, and 2 other skeletons approach him who he recognizes as Algora and Hubert. Now, the backstory behind these people is obviously rooted in the backstory between Juha and Yamamoto himself. Like we don't even know much about the conflict that Juha had against Yamamoto 1,000 years ago, but I'm sure these guys are involved in some way. Maybe it has something to do with like an army of Quincy's attacking an army of Shinigami, because it was stated that the Quincy's died out 200 years ago, but even before that, they were never on good terms with each other, the Quincy and the Shinigami. So it would make sense that there would be continuous conflicts between the two. So, these people are obviously not, maybe they're not Stern Raiders in the same way we know. Maybe the Stern Raiders have different generations. There's an idea, like the Espada in that similarity. But if nothing else, there are people that Yhwach recognizes from the past, and he obviously cares very deeply for them, because this is like one of the few times he actually starts to express some kind of emotion when he notices that he's been crushing the long-deceased skeletons of his former subordinates. So Yamamoto steps back from the fight a little bit, and this is where we get like a huge part of exposition in this chapter. We get finally a little bit of insight as actually how the Quincy's steal the Bankai. Yamamoto states of why he didn't, why Yhwach or like the Stern Raider, the blonde Quincy, why did they steal his Bankai by now? And he states that it's not because they just didn't feel like it, it's because they simply couldn't. He states that in order to steal something, in order to steal the Bankai in instance, you have to know the exact limit. You have to know exactly how strong it is, and you have to pretty much know not all of its secrets necessarily, but just, just understand its strength, for example. Ichigo, for instance, he just achieved Bankai rather recently. I mean, when compared to a Shinigami have mastered their Bankais probably like tens of 20s, like decades ago. Ichigo have just really, he was like, what, like 2 years? Really, that's all he's got so far in his Bankai. So it still has room to grow, which is scary right there, that Yamamoto said Ichigo's Bankai has room to grow when he's already that badass. Kind of the opposite way with Yamamoto, since he has achieved Bankai, as far as we know, he's achieved his Bankai at least for 1,000 years when he fought against Yhwach. We don't know if Yamamoto had his Bankai achieved back when he was fighting Shojiro. I want to say he probably did, most likely, but we don't even know really how far away that was. I've been hearing that was far back as like 2,500 years ago to 3,000 years ago, but we're not 100% sure on the date when, Chojiro, when they had the Chojiro flashback. But in terms of 1,000 years ago, he had his Bankai against Yhwach, and even back then, he didn't show him exactly everything his Bankai could do. So they're not sure on that yet. That's why they can't steal Yamamoto's Bankai and Ichigo's as well. Which also begs the question, though, that since the Quincy's were able to steal the Bankais of, like, Soifone, Komamura, and Byakuya, that's kind of hinting at the fact that their Bankais were already fully developed as strong as they were going to get. Which, don't get me wrong or anything. I mean, that's, their Bankais are all pretty flipping strong to begin with. I'm just saying, like, there's no room for them to grow at all. Like, Byakuya's hit a wall. That's as far as he's going to go. Soifone can't go any stronger than that. That just seems kind of like a letdown. But, maybe I'm misinterpreting the chapter. Maybe I'm misinterpreting exactly what Yamamoto meant. But from the way I'm getting from this is, it's like, in order to steal the Bankai, you have to know its exact limits. And since the Bankais of, like, Byakuya and Soifone have been stolen, I guess they do know their exact limits. I don't know. So next stage, he states it's over for Yhwach. He has the skeletons pretty much envelop him. However, even when Yhwach does smash the skeletons, he's no closer to Yamamoto. And it finally comes to a climax when Yamamoto states, like, there is nothing compared to the hate and pain experienced by all the Shinigami you have killed, in which he activates Zanko no Tachi North. Okay, guys, here we go. I knew this was going to happen in this chapter. Zanka no Tachi North. We had a blade that can turn things to plasma just by coming in contact with it. Him turning into the embodiment of the sun with 15 million degrees Celsius irradiating around him. Ryatsu is turned into flames. Zanko no Tachi South summoning hell. Zanko no Tachi North is making a large sword slice that cuts through Yhwach Bach and some of the surrounding area. Well, actually, it doesn't really even cut through all of Yhwach. It just kind of cuts through, like 95% of him. And then he falls down, and then his Bankai goes away, and then it starts raining, I guess. Take it away, Guru.
I do not know what this Yamcha is, but it sounds disappointing.
Yeah, replace Yamcha for Zanko no Tachi North. That pretty much sums it up right there. I know it's not exactly a bad ability. I mean, it does reference heaven, which I'm glad it did that. It was a reference of heaven because, Zanko no Tachi South is obviously referencing hell. So it references heaven, but really, all I'm getting from the ability is it's like one giant F-off sword swing, like the sword swing to end all sword swings, which is cool. I mean, it cut Yhwach basically and completely in half. I mean, except for just a little tiny sliver right there. I mean, his arm is gone. Most of his entire torso is just disintegrated. It's not even burned up. It's not even, crushed or anything. It's just, like, gone. But I'm not seeing much of a difference between Zango no Tachi East and Zango no Tachi North, except for the fact that it's more condensed in Zango no Tachi North. And really, there's really no way, unless Yamamoto next chapter says something like we finally get to see the full effect of Zango no Tachi North. Maybe it did something more. Maybe it, I don't know, maybe it had some other effect, like instead of, when killing Yhwach, instead of just killing him, it, did something, it, ripped out his soul or trapped him in limbo for all eternity. That might redeem it a little bit, but still, there's no way. I mean, I kind of figured this was going to happen because Kubo was showing all these epic abilities with Yamamoto, capped off by him summoning hell. I'm thinking, okay, Kubo, where could you possibly go with this? Some people had some really good ideas. Some people were saying, oh, he's going to summon, Zango no Tachi North is going to be life because South was death. So it's going to be an ability that revives the dead, or it's going to be some ability to, summon angels to come down, or summon the Zero Squad to come down, and I mean, it was really cool. We got an awesome, full-page spread, but at the end of the day, it was really just a glorified sword swing, and I'm really just honestly a little bit disappointed by that. I'm sure a lot of people were too. Just how that's went. I mean, Yhwach, died pretty good, right? And oh wait, I'm sorry guys, the chapter's not done yet. There's one more sentence. Okay, so very last panels, Yhwach states, "Please forgive me, Yhwach Bach-sama." But wait, he's Yhwach Bach. Wait, isn't he? Oh! Ha ha ha! That's clever! I knew it! I called that, didn't I? I called that last chapter. I was like, because looks like he was gonna die. Like Yhwach back then, but we thought, he did show off a few abilities. He showed off, I could throw an arrow, I could summon, that light palace thing, but it was still very apparent that Yamamoto was going to kill him. This chapter, restated that, and it's just if he's going to die in the next chapter, I think I said something like, if he's going to die in the next few chapters, then he's not the true antagonist. He's not the true leader of the Quincy's, which is probably true because he begs for forgiveness for Yhwach Bach. Okay, so speculation time. Hit that alarm. All right, so speculation. Well, father and son would probably be something that would come up right there. Remember when Yamamoto came into the battlefield, he stated Yhwach Bach. We never actually saw this guy, I'm pretty sure, we never saw this guy actually call himself, "My name's Yhwach Bach," or "It's been a long time, Yamamoto," something like that. We never, saw him or the blonde-haired Quincy ever call him Yhwach Bach by name. It was always "Your Majesty." Okay, so once again, though, Yamamoto recognized him, so which father and son would make sense. Even if he had the same name, father and son would still make sense. Some people name their children after themselves. Maybe Yhwach Bach II or something like that. Another idea is maybe he's a clone or some kind of, false Yhwach Bach. Maybe not something that's really apparent. That's something more, like Naruto University. But maybe in this, maybe it's certainly an idea, if nothing else. He begged for forgiveness, so that indicated that there's someone out there, if nothing else. There's someone more powerful than this dude out here. I guess I'll just go calling back to him Buckbeard, because I guess that's what I'm going to be calling him now. But there's clearly somebody out there more stronger than this guy. And on his own, aside from fighting Yamamoto, because against Yamamoto you really don't have any chance whatsoever. He could blow up, the Arrancar's heads off. He apparently took out Hallibale by himself. He took out Kenpachi. He took out freaking, he took out, who was it? Someone else aside from Kenpachi. I can't remember who. I might be thinking of the blonde-haired Quincy. But anyway, yeah, so he's clearly strong in his own right. He took out Kenpachi with, bare-handed, with his eye patch off, mind you. So this guy was strong to begin with. It makes me afraid to think there's someone else out there even stronger than that who's the true leader of the Quincy's. The only thing that's a problem here that that punches a hole in my theory is that he recognized the people that Yamamoto was showing him. He recognized, that's Hubert, that guy. He's obviously showing corpses that died at least 1,000 years ago, and this Yhwach Bach, this Buckbeard, recognized them. So, and he was obviously more than just recognized them. He was visibly troubled by their appearances. So that's just like some kind of clip right there. Like maybe something's up with that. I don't know yet, guys. But that's my speculation on that anyway. But regardless of that, we have apparently. You know, it's going to be funny if the actual villain... You know, actually, I could go back to my original speculation that the true enemy and the true antagonist of this arc is going to be classical musical composer Johann Sebastian Bach. Ichigo's going to have to ally himself with the Doctor, go back in time in the TARDIS, and get to Tensho Bach in the face. That's going to happen. Just wait for it. But anyway, that, you know, Tekking101, this is my Bleach Chapter 509 review. Dazanko no Tachi North was kind of, you know, of a letdown. It was a really cool sword swing, but once again, I don't care. I don't really even care if the sword swing was strong enough to split the Earth in half. Nothing's going to top an army of skeletons coming up from hell to use as your personal army. That's never going to happen. If I could ever have a superpower, that would be it. Summoning the dead to, like, do my algebra homework and film videos for me. Like there'll be a burned skeleton up here. Just be like, you know, and I'll be, I don't know, eating McDonald's or something. Anyway, okay, so this is Tekking101 signing out. I'll be back in my studio next week, guys. See ya. Tekking101 signing out.
I'm about to blow my load all over your inside.